You want me to put that on my todger?
Harry's wife. Did Doria bring the good stuff? Yeah. Harry just wants to get blissed out. Clear that windscreen. Free his mind. Ooh, yeah. Take him to another place. Oh, yes. Harry and the good stuff. Did Doria bring it? Well, let's examine a few facts. Because, of course, what is always important is to go to the evidence. We know that Harry has repeatedly taken drugs in the past. He's admitted to regularly smoking cannabis, taking cocaine, that he's involved himself in psychedelics. He took some shrooms and had a memorable, for him at least, conversation with a bin in a toilet. We also know that Doria, Harry's wife's mother and non-intimate secondary source in her fuel matrix, has also been involved in the taking of drugs. There's also been the suggestion, as was mentioned in material from Tom Barr, that Doria has had some involvement not just in the consumption of drugs, but she apparently had some involvement with regard to their sale, and that this quite possibly was the reason why she went missing from Harry's wife's life as she was incarcerated. So far, we have 2 drug users, one allegedly with the capability to supply drugs. We also have 2 narcissists in the mix, Harry's wife and her mother. As you know from parts passum and your own readings and information, Harry's wife has nothing to do with anybody else from the Markle or Raglan families apart from her mother. This is because, although her mother is also a narcissist, she's able to control her, most likely financially. Therefore, through the provision of money, which allows Harry's wife to assert control over her mother, and her mother receiving a considerable residual benefit, she is content to go along with receiving suggestions and guidance from Harry's wife as to what she should do. As being somebody who hasn't particularly had access to a lot of money, save, of course, when she used to ponce off Thomas Markle Sr., Doria Ragland is, of course, going to trade the concept of control for a residual benefit. Remember that for a narcissist, if the narcissism decides that they're content to say, allow somebody to say, if you do this, I will give you that. If the narcissist consents to that, they are the one that has control because they have agreed to do it. It's control through agreement. A suggestion to a narcissist that they must do something will be perceived as a threat to control. But if the narcissism gauges actually it's worthwhile going along with what that person wants because of what we'll get out of it, then the narcissism effectively creates consent, creates the assertion of control through agreement, so that the narcissist basically thinks to themselves, it was my idea that they give me this and I would go along with what they've requested of me. Thus, they retain the notion of control. The other person, if they're also a narcissist, basically then states, well, I'm giving them something and they're doing what I want, therefore, subconsciously they have control. So both narcissists are getting what they need, control, and one of them is receiving a residual benefit of a payment of money. It seems to me that that is the dynamic that occurs between Harry's wife and her mother. But where does this all fit into with the suggestion that Doria might have brought the good stuff? Well, some of the pictures of Harry at the Women of Vision Awards make him look rather spaced out, that he's perhaps on something. It wouldn't be a surprise if he is. Here's why. 1, he's taken drugs before. 2, they're not one-offs. 3, he suffers from some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. And remember, he's being abused by his wife through devaluing behaviour. And therefore, taking a respite amongst drugs is a way of him coping with the situation that he is facing. Furthermore, as a means of asserting control over him and ensuring that he behaves, it may well be the case that Harry's wife organises for him to be in receipt of particular drugs. And given the track record, or rather the alleged track record of Doria Ragland, she may be the one that's being involved in the provision of these drugs. Of course, we have no clear evidence that that is taking place. But what we can do is examine the peripheral evidence which supports a proposition that this could well be taking place. Remember, as a narcissist, Harry's wife has no emotional empathy for her husband. She doesn't actually care about him, although her narcissism causes her to believe that she does. What she seeks subconsciously, as you know, is the prime aims, chief of which are control and fuel. And if providing him with drugs, in effect, keeping him medicated in some way, keeping him spaced out, both keeps him controllable whilst he's on something, but also, like a dog with a treat, he looks forward to the receipt of his illicit contraband. Therefore, it makes him easier to control. Be a good boy, and you'll get a lovely big blunt to smoke tonight. Be a good boy, and my mum will bring some more of those delicious shrooms that you like. Yippee-ki-yay, thinks Harry. And thus, he is controlled through the actual provision of the drugs, and then is subjected to control because he basically is elsewhere and not fully functioning in terms of what's going on around him. This, of course, also creates a collateral consequence for him, that at a future juncture, her narcissism could use his drug taking and throw it back in his face by suggesting that he was abusive whilst on drugs, that he was a habitual drug taker and thus a lawbreaker, and all of the lack of accountability that comes with it, and of course doing it in and around children, which would cause him significant problems in a future custody battle. It does look like from the photographs that he is a little somewhat spaced out, and it might suggest, of course, that on this occasion he has been partaking. And oddly enough, who do we see attending the event with the two of them, Doria Ragland? And therefore, whilst there's no direct evidence, there is the possibility that there is the provision of drugs that is being utilised as part of the control of Prince Harry, and that he may well have got the good stuff on this occasion. What do you think? Do you think that drugs are being used to control Prince Harry? Or do you think he just seeks them out because he's an habitual drug user and that just happens to make him easier to control? Do you think that Harry's wife and her mother are working in tandem to utilise the provision of drugs for the purpose of controlling Harry? Share with me your thoughts in the comments. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.